Well, hey, good morning. Sorry. No, there's sound. Oh man, tell ya, getting everything up and getting everything going all on time. It's nothing like running a live show when you're. Oh, all right. Well, welcome to April 24th, Sunday. Hello from America, all the way to Jamaica, all the way around the world. Thanks for joining in our Korean natural farming office hour. Get started with a little bit of higher guidance to help us find and center ourselves before we jump into it. So, today is talking about inner truth. And what it says is through openness and gentleness, the correct solution is reached. So, arriving at the correct solution to a difficult situation requires a receptivity to inner truth. Unless we are willing to put aside the strong emotions of our ego and devote ourselves to discovering what is right, there can be no hope of progress at this time. Help only comes when we invite it with a sincere and innocent attitude. The I Ching teaches us a simple but effective method of influencing difficult people and arduous situations. It advises us first to lay aside our prejudice, our feeling of being wounded, angry, or in the right. Second, to understand the position of others and the lesson of the sage is teaching us with this situation. Even when another is truly out of line, it is only by accepting this and remaining balanced that you can make it possible for positive change to occur. Gentleness and understanding create in others an unconscious willingness to be led. The superior person, therefore, avoids the use of anger and force in trying times, knowing that they only prolong conflict. It is far wiser to accept that each experience we have is necessary for us to learn something about ourselves and the higher laws of life. The greatest openings come when we meet difficulty with acceptance, gentleness, and a desire to understand the lesson underneath. So, before we jump into it, I'm going to pull up some questions here, but that inner truth is definitely one of those things that we have to do with natural farming for sure. If you try to force things, you try to make it happen without just letting nature and connecting with earth, with God, with all of the microbiome. We're more, instead of where traditional farming, you're like gonna put a plant in the ground and then throw chemicals and force it to grow. And, if a plant's not doing good, you're gonna throw all these chemicals at it and like force and change. Natural farming is so much more subtle. It's so much more easy to engage what's already happening and saying, instead of I'm going to force the plant to grow, how can I cooperate with trillions and trillions of other life forms that are already out there trying to do their best to grow our systems? So that's what I want to focus on here, the inner truth, not forcing things, but connecting and making them better. And if you start with that premise, you will have a much easier time to do all the natural farming and to get those things together. So let's see here. I got a bunch of questions this week coming in. And even, so let's see. Hope you guys had a good holiday this past week. Was Earth Day the other day. Did anyone plant a tree? you know. I actually on Earth Day I cut down some trees. I not completely. I didn't kill them, but I pruned a whole bunch. I just chop and dropped a whole bunch of trees and made room for what was growing out there. So trying to make room for my garden coming up this spring season. So let's see here. If I go like this, and I'm gonna bring up this email here, and I want to just get started here. Berland, who's down in Australia, she's down in New South Wales. They've been starting natural farming down there to just a couple months ago on their citrus orchard. And if you remember back in 2000, they had those huge fires, and that took them out. And there you go. You guys can read this a little bit here. So they're really trying to get their natural farming together, and she's waiting for OHN to make IMO 3, and let me tell you, it's only an added benefit. There's no need to wait to get your OHN to make the IMO. You can just go for it anytime. It just gets better. It got to function as a medicine, a purifier, a biostimulant, but it's really the microbes plus the food plus the cleanser and all the rest of the ingredients that go in. You'll be good. Okay, so she's asking this question that's real common here in citrus farming, that says the trees always seem to be in the pregnancy phase, flower, fruit set, and fruiting. Yet the new leaves are appearing and then turn yellow. I'm trying to keep the nutrition up on them, but not overdo it. We have the winter season arriving soon. How do I keep the new leaves green without magnesium? I'm foliar spraying them weekly with the pregnancy recipe. I also drip irrigate with sea salt. Okay, so the magnesium and how to get that is make a fermented plant juice out of something that aggregates magnesium. And I'm sure a quick search on the internet would reveal, plants that are high in magnesium. Those are great candidates to add for your food, and that will start to add magnesium back in. And then also, as your IMOs start to get into the soil, they will find the magnesium in the earth, so increasing your IMOs. But when you say the trees always seem to be in the pregnancy phase, this is true with a fair amount of plants that if you look at, like for instance, tomatoes, where they go and they'll throw out a flower, then that'll start to fruit, and then it's always have fruit and flowers on it while it's trying to grow. But you will notice there's about a 2-week cycle that's happening. And the same is true probably for the citrus. Like, for instance, I have a lime tree here that is always flowering and fruiting simultaneously. But you will notice that when new leaves are coming out, they'll start to put tiny little leaves. And what we call this, right when you'll notice the tiny leaves are coming out, and then what happens is those things spread out. And then there's tiny little leaves and they spread out. And it's more clear on a plant like a tomato, which is growing faster, which is always in these growth stages, or something like a papaya tree that's also going through these always flowering, always fruiting, always growing at the same time. But these all fit into a similar group of plants, like a class of plants that are always going through these, but they usually are rotating on a 2-week or a certain cycle, where what you're wanting to do is to look at the leaves, and when they're just starting, like the very tips of the plants, when they're just starting to grow like that, and they're just like they're putting out a bunch of things, that's what is called a cumulative growth stage, and that's what I call chubby growth. So it's trying to chub up and trying to get chubby because it's growing all these plants right here. And then those things go and they stretch out. And when they're in the stretching period, that's more of the reproductive growth. So even though it's called leaf growth and pregnancy and reproduction in those names, it's also the leaf growth is also that accumulative growth, that chubby phase of growth where things are putting on and it's getting like chubby like this. It's just like a kid. You'll see it, a toddler will get a little chubby and then they'll go through a growth spurt and they'll grow. And it's the same thing. If you can notice that, so this is one of the hardest things to translate has been Master Cho's trying to put this in a vocabulary because it's hard to describe because we don't really have a name for it besides like, chubby or accumulative or leaf growth. It's growing those leaves. And then the reproduction phase of it is actually when it's stretching and it's called the skinny growth. So even though you think reproduction, things would get chubbier, it's not that case. It's the reproductive, that is the stretching or the using of that stuff. And so in the growth phase, if you're really able to tune into your lime trees, your tomatoes, your papayas, these things that are always in these stages, you will notice that it starts to go and grow chubby and then stretching. And so when it's chubbing up like that and it's starting to be chubby, that's when it needs the leaf growth spray. That's when it needs the vegetative spray because it's growing vegetation. When it's starting to reach out and stretch, that's when in the reproduction, the growth. And I'm sorry this is confusing. It's not like it's confusing for Master Cho too. People go sit there and they'll be like, what is he saying? But if you can understand that concept of what I'm saying, like a cumulative growth and then stretching growth, and those are the two differences between chubby and stretching. So leaf and then reproduction, reaching out. And reproduction might make you think it's just about the fruits. It's not. It's that reaching growth. And it's hard to just put one name on that phase to say what it is because it also has to do with your fruits and the sweetness and the stage. And the nutrient cycle is one of the more complex things. But if you can understand that, you'll really be better at it. Chubby and then reaching. So those are the two. And then your reproductive is happening when your plant is going through flower phase. So in a lime, it's almost like you could go out 1 week and spray the leaf spray. The next week, spray the reproductive spray, or excuse me, the changeover, the puberty spray. And then the third week, spray the fruit spray. And if you alternated each week doing that, and you had the time and energy to do it, you had an easy sprayer where you could just throw your solutions in and drive through or just spray them with your hand sprayer, get that super efficient, you will have beyond good growth. And then Berlinda's also asking, how much IMO4 do I put around my trees? And the answer is it's about 5 pounds per tree, between 3 to 5 pounds per tree. That if you spread that out and, an easy way to do it is to take kind of like a bucket or, to load like like almost like a tennis can thing or a tall jar with the IMO and then just walk around like this and you'll sprinkle it out in the area around the drip zone. And it is worth doing with lower temperatures. I know down in Australia, you guys are headed into, winter right now. And so it is worth doing because during that winter time when things slow down, those microbes will start to penetrate into your soil. And of course, if you can spray them with the soil solution on top and feed them, especially after you spread them, feed them a couple weeks in a row, they'll penetrate down. So just around the drip line, walk around the tree like a donut. I've showed a couple of videos of that here of me doing it, and real easy to do. So great time to do that. Let's see here. Then we get No, this is someone trying to do ads. So Berlando's there. Then we got a question here. So I'll answer Stonemason's one since you're here live right now. What's up, Stonemason? How's it in Indiana? And also thank you for the donation. Got that. Really appreciate it, man. It's huge. Thanks for kicking down. It always put you in the priority queue and answer your questions here. Can I make a large batch of tea just using the KNF police and the nutrients the same way I would make a liquid IMO? 55 gallons, how much LAB culture should be added? Yes. Yes, totally. It's just like an EM spray. It's super effective. The one thing, when I talk about the KNF police, also called KNF protectors, is that, if you put them out there without payment, they will get angry and start to steal nutrients. But if you're putting them out with the other nutrients, you should be 100% good on doing that. And making a tea that way is really good. And so instead of IMOs, just using the lacto and the KNF protectors. And basically, for a 55-gallon barrel, you'd use around 200 milliliters roughly. And that'll get you there. So 0.2 liters, and that'll get you there. Yeah. And to encourage mushrooms, if you want them in an area, spraying the nutrients out on the soil, getting those out there, your mycelia will bloom. But it's growing year round, and it's only popping during certain seasons. So, excuse me. Okay, so I'm gonna go and answer Kristen Springer. She asked, she's up in Saskatchewan, sup Canada, and so she's far from the ocean, and so she's asking about replacing the fish aminos with beef aminos. Totally go for it. It's a good idea. Using their meat. Some of their guts is okay. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Their brains are really good to put in there. And then when you're done, pull out those bones and use them for something else. And yeah, no, it's a good thing to do. And people have been asking about the sugar cap on top of these. The sugar cap on top of the fuel. And don't worry, it's not supposed to remain dry. And don't keep topping the cap up. Just set it once and it'll get wet and it'll dissolve. It's just, the sugar cap is just to start. It's not like that thing when I crack mine open years later, there's a sugar cap. All the sugar is completely gone. Like, it's supposed to go away. So don't top it up. You'll add way, way too much. And thanks for the super chat, Jennifer. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for supporting. It's great. Really appreciate you guys getting some donations and all that. Keeps me going. And yeah, all of the, George is asking a follow-up on this, that all of the beef parts are good. The fat, flesh, brains, whatever parts, whatever you got left, you can throw in there. If you're not going to eat it or whatever, just throw it in with some equal parts of sugar and it should go. And someone's asking about the Mega Profit Farming book. And I think I'm sold out on that. So I'll have to get back to you on that there. Okay. And so her second question here is, she sourced some C90 sea salt, and will it make seawater at 4 grams a gallon? And if you're gonna try to make seawater back from sea solids, it's 30 grams per liter. So that would be times 4 for a gallon. It'd be 120 grams per gallon of salt going back in. So if you're just diluting 4 grams per gallon, what you are making is diluted seawater. So you don't need to. Okay, I think I'm back. Sorry, I just had a crazy power failure here. And yeah, so interesting. Yeah, okay, well, it is back. So interesting thing here. And then someone's telling me I should remove the personal data from the message. Well, guess what? If you email me, it's, it's pretty public there. You gotta expect this. And, pulling up the email, getting back into this. It's always funny, I tell you what, it's funny. I watch people on YouTube and the creators talk about this. It's like you can get so much positive stuff, but if one person talks about like some negative thing, it really just cuts at you. And when someone tells me I should take out the personal stuff, it's just basically like the whole thought I have is just like, I should just not do this at all. Why am I even doing this? It's like this, it's an interesting thing of like, when you're volunteering to do something, it's kind of hard to take criticism on a lot of stuff. And it's folks like that where it's like if you're gonna um, say some negative stuff, it's like I just want to ban you from this. It's like why are you even tuning in if you're not gonna be positive, or maybe you're trying to make a constructive criticism, and maybe I'm taking it wrong. But it's interesting. It's always when you're trying to put yourself out there for these things to get out there. So let's see, where was I on this? Got Kristen's questions. There we go. Okay, so we'll jump back to that. So the C90, yeah. So anyway, if you're gonna make sea salt or seawater from sea solids, 30 grams per liter, and then usually dilute that 1 to 30. So if you're just gonna make diluted seawater, 1 gram per liter or 4 grams per gallon, and that's ended up diluted already. So okay, so and she's asking here, I'm gonna go back. Well, okay, maybe there's a phone number. Maybe I won't even pull this screen up. I'll just do it without it. And it says, I have no access to brown rice vinegar, so I'm considering using a concentrated apple cider vinegar with the mother in it and diluting it with RO or distilled water to get 5%. Yep, absolutely. That's a comparable product. So if you can't get brown rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar, any vinegar made from a fruit fits into the KNF cleanser there. And let's see, yeah, drop down. Let's see here. I want to pop this out. I notice most people that also do online live streams and stuff, they almost always have like someone else to kind of run the tech. Whereas for me, it's like I'm running the tech and the show at the same time, and it's like it's always this challenge here. I'm trying to balance out, like get my chat up here. I just had to completely reconfigure my whole software to bring it back because for some reason it wasn't going in. Sorry about getting knocked offline. Okay. Anyway, so finding my inner truth, trying not to force things, trying to just find peace within. Why am I here? What am I doing? What is my inner truth? I think it is to help people around the world do natural farming. Come back to that, find that. What is that truth? Try not to fight against it here, get knocked offline. Hey, must be God trying to tell me something. Maybe I shouldn't be on the internet doing things. But look at all these people joining in from around the world, helping them out. It's really what I'm trying to do. So, would white vinegar be, no, question number 4 here. Would white vinegar be acceptable to extract the reproduction in the structure? And absolutely. I always use white vinegar. It is absolutely awesome. Question number 5. Thoughts on buying 190 proof vodka and cutting it with distilled water? Yes. Save money. Buy really concentrated stuff and dilute it down to 35% and then go for it in tincture. And it's not beneficial to tincture at a higher proof, like 80, you know, 80% alcohol, which proof and percent, it's always, proof is half of what the percentage is. So just dilute it down to 35% and you'd be great right there. So thanks. I hope your the plant juice goes well for you and all that works out. Okay, let's see here. Do we got any? Yeah, negative spreads faster than positive. Oh, that's true. You can get 1,000 people to come out and protest something, and it's very hard to get a single person to come out to build something. The negative does spread faster. So, and since I got a question on this, and it's something that I love, and I want to talk about this for a second, is this one here. How do you feed my pigs on the internet? And the answer is you go to mypigs.com and here's BB taking a nap. It looks like the camera just turned on here at 9:30. Right now I'm having some power issues up at the barn where it's like and see this other cam's not even on. But the key right now is Lucky Pig. And let's see if I feed her. I doubt she's gonna wake up. And maybe the relay's not even online. Nope, it's not. Okay, so anyway, it's a work in progress, but the Twitter works now, and the Twitter is tweeting. So if you want to follow it on Twitter and just get updates, it's at ChompCam, and I got this working so that it is coming directly from my Raspberry Pi, which is tweeting now. So that's pretty cool. But it's been a kind of a project that's been taking more of my time than it probably should, and it's not nearly as popular as I thought it would be. We're at 60 tweets with only 3 followers, and thanks to those folks that are doing that. It's good. But let's jump back to questions here. And oh, I'm not supposed to show these. Yeah, that's right. Transition back. And thanks for reading this. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so he wanted to show some pictures of his IMO. And so I will jump over here to look at these. And so I'm looking at a picture of his IMO collection. And this one looks really good. You got enough sugar in there. Some of these little bubbles in there might indicate activity, but it looks like he used some granulated sugar there. But looks to me normal storage. And then this one here where it's kind of getting moldy up above, you might want to add a little bit more sugar and keep that rice under. The whole point is to take these microbes that are here and to have them have the water pulled out and have them go to sleep. If they are up above where they are able to access like this area here where it's able to access and this mold here, it's better if you added a little more sugar and or get that underneath so that the sugar will pull out the water and they will go to sleep completely. Yeah. Okay, and then Stonemason saying his daughter just did a college photography project on IMO and speech on collecting and breeding them. That's awesome. That's the stuff we need being taught at colleges and getting those things into the people, the students. You never know how you're going to change someone's life and make it better um, by just teaching them these things. One class could change your whole life. Okay. So I'm gonna jump over to Anne's question here. And she says, for about a year, I've been applying KNF solutions to her mango orchard in India. Wow, that's awesome. Thanks to your videos you've shared online. Cannot thank you enough for your persistence. Yep, even after a power failure, I'm back, really trying to show up, even though sometimes I'm like, oh, the power failed. Maybe I can just end it for today. No, I'll be back. Only got a few more minutes, 15 more minutes here anyway, so really appreciate it. Definitely a sacrifice. So she has a few questions. The structure and the reproduction. Can this be made from a plant source? No. Real simple, no. Although the calcium you can make from coral, which I don't think most people consider that living. And just like how vegans don't necessarily think about all the microorganisms they're eating and all the plants, all those things that they're eating. Coral also, people don't think of it as living; they think of it as a rock, and so you can get old coral and use that for your calcium. So if you're going to make KNF reproduction, it can actually be made from coral. So if that's a plant source, although it's not, it's an animal source, but so are a majority of everything. When you think of it, you got microbes living in you, so do plants when you eat those. So if you're trying to, be vegetarian or something, you're eating animals anyway. Sorry to break it to you. And then she's saying, I made a biochar of the bones in a retort. Really good idea. That's what George was doing the other day. Super good idea. But when you mixed it with the cleanser, the color of the vinegar did not turn amber. That's okay. If your bones were really well charred, it probably should have. And no, it's not so much the color of the solution, because the color, it's hard to tell. So if you're making KNF structure, which from the charred bones, and you're putting those into vinegar, it should be the taste at the end, and it should have a sour taste that makes your tongue pucker, pulls it up, and it's not the vinegar anymore, it's the sour from the phosphorus that you're tasting. And if you are checking the pH of the finished structure, I don't know what it is. I should actually pH test mine and find out what a true good finished batch is. But I would imagine it's going to come up to be more neutral. And then lastly, second to lastly, she's asking here, I have different fruit trees which I make vinegar from. Can we mix these vinegars? Can citrus vinegar be used on mango trees? What should the acidity of the vinegar be? And the answer is absolutely yes. Mix your vinegars; they should be fine. Citrus vinegar should be fine on mango trees. All that the citric acid should have been somewhat shifted to become like acetic acid. And the acetic acid is much more digestible versus the citric acid, and I would imagine it's broken down that way. And the acidity of the vinegar should be below 2.5 if it's a true vinegar. Um, and then she's asking lastly about the protectors. At what stage of fruiting should you not use the protectors to ensure sweetness? And so just not using it in the last 2 weeks. So if I have like a nice fruit and I spray a bunch of KNF protectors on them, they are going to suck the sugars out through and pull and eat all those through the cell tissue, and your fruit will end up not being as sweet. That's what she's talking about. So if you're prior to 2 weeks before you're going to harvest, you should be fine to use the protectors. If you're using it that last time, it could make it a little bit less sweet. So good questions. Thanks, Anne. Hope hope everything's going great. Love the mangoes. All the things you're doing out in India and all that. It sounds like it's great things happening. Happy to help you out with these questions. So jump back to the live chat because you guys are here with us, and I like so. Oh yeah, and yeah, thanks. Post up. Yeah, you guys show your data. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you guys are here. Okay. So Joe is saying, I started doing KNF 3 years ago. At that time, I couldn't drive a stake into the 5 inches into the soil. 3 years of KNF, and I can drive the stake 5 feet down. Right there. That's like, what other reason do you need to do Korean natural farming besides that? It's clear. Like you practice for a while, and your soil just becomes tilty, where you can't even smash through with a stake 5 inches. Now it goes 5 feet. This stuff is real. It's happening. Thanks for sharing that. He's saying, and his fruits and veggies are the rave of the neighborhood. Thanks. It's really good to hear that, Joe. Reinforces what I do, why I share, why I'm out, what I'm doing. Really appreciate it that you share back. It's that kind of stuff where sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? And then I hear those things. I'm like, yes, this is why. So thank you. And Timothy is asking, I've had problem with critters getting into his IMO collection boxes. I finally got a collection from one of my boxes where an animal didn't eat all the rice and what was left was colonized. Cool. I always, I recommend, some videos on the internet show people just putting the box on the surface. I recommend that you dig into your soil, down into where it's still that nice, rich soil. You'll see it with your eyes of where you're in that top soil still, digging down into that, burying your box into there, then covering it with back over with that dirt you've removed over the top. Take all the leaves, make a cocoon on top of that box, and then taking something like what I use is a shopping basket, not the kind, like not like a shopping cart, but like those baskets you buy when you're only getting a few products. Those plastic baskets, I put that over the top to keep rats and things from coming out or coming in. And then I put a piece of roof on top of that to keep the rain off. So I really recommend digging down, burying it, putting it in where animals aren't going to be able to get to it in that same easy way, and it's only going to be out there for a couple days. So if you can keep the animals out in a way, that'll really help you. So not sure what I'm going to do. Keep them out of your IMO 3 pile. Cats, dogs, or doing it in a box, some way where you can actually kind of like build a way to keep things out. Also, just setting a bunch of traps around the perimeter. I used to have a bunch of mice and rats up at my barn, but we recently got 2 rescue cats, and now they live up there, and I haven't seen a rat since, and no evidence of them anymore. So using animals against animals, using the nature, finding this way, but also, physical, mechanical things. Build, if you had the time and energy to build like a box out of wood to support these things, you could. Yeah, and wire cages, chicken wire keeps critters out. Yeah, you guys got great advice here. And yeah, the bottomless cage that's staked down, all these things. Yeah, these are great tips. You guys are really on it. Um, and then, yeah, Sean here is saying that he's done IMO 4 all the way up indoors. Um, and you can definitely do it in, throw down some cardboard underneath it. Um, yeah, all those things are great, good tips. Just working with nature, it's hard. If a bunch of critters are eating your stuff, maybe take some more delicious food and put it outside. I don't know. It's probably just going to breed their population, but what is the higher power trying to teach you? Um, yeah. And my vids in Korea do show people doing it in a box. Like if you look, let's see here. I can pull up one of these here from this. Um, Let me see. Like if you look at some of the videos, like Pastor Lee did a whole bunch. Uh, let's see. Yeah, it's hard to find this stuff live while you guys are here. I don't want to like have you guys look at me while I'm searching. You guys could easily search, but yeah, um, there's a bunch of videos back from Korea where we're doing those in a box. I was just gonna find one for you, one example for you, but it's hard to scroll through this stuff in time. I got so much content on my YouTube, and yeah, want to thank you guys for tuning into that. Okay, so let's go back to these other questions and not get too distracted here. Um, okay, Jonathan was asking here. This is an interesting. So I'm gonna share. I am gonna share this screen. Yeah. Ooh. Um, here, just and he was asking about his IMOs, and he was concerned about the fruity smell. And there can be a little bit of fruity smell to your IMO one. It's not necessarily gonna smell like a forest floor. What smells like the forest floor is when you propagate them out. So you make propagated IMO, and then when you activate them with soil, so those further steps, that's when it starts to smell like the forest floor when you grow them out. Um, but this collection looks really good to me when I'm looking at it. He said there was no mushy spots in there. When you're seeing the mycelium shoot up like that, it looks to me like the one problem with this collection is that had you added more rice, it looks like you didn't really fill your box up 2/3. And so had you filled up more of your 2/3, it's not like this collection was bad or anything, but it would have been more of this white wispy type of mycelium growing and less of this type of stuff growing had you actually filled the box up 2/3 here and put more rice in there. When it's just a tiny bit at the bottom, these other things start to grow and not so much this. And when you're seeing this right here, this is the Bacillus simplex and Bacillus subtilis type of microbes growing, which are not the microbes you're looking for. I mean, they are the microbes you're looking for. Excuse me. They're the microbes you're looking for, but they're not necessarily the microbes that are the soil guys that you need. These guys are indicators that what's growing right beneath these guys are compatible with these ones. So what it's indicating right here in this area where you got this stuff growing is that right here you got really good soil, good microbes, and these are the compatible ones. Over here on this side, you're getting more bacteria, less soil oriented microbes, more like the breakdown type of microbes. And so you don't have this type of growth on top. So when you're seeing this growth, you know the microbes that are growing right here in this rice chunk, right beneath here, are the microbes you're looking for. And if you want to fill this whole block with these really good microbes that are these ones, you got to get that up to the 2/3 and then this thing. Because here where I see it's not even against this wall, it's just like a little rice put in here. You really got to fill it up with rice to get a nice good collection there. So not this is actually, I mean, it's a good collection, especially when he breaks it open and you see it's all myceliated out like that. It's a good collection. There is the good stuff, but you could make it even better. And yeah, where he's able to hold it up here, and then this here, where you're seeing this nice white stuff. This is really the good mycelia that's going in there, that's doing its thing. And so this to me looks like a really good collection. I would totally keep this. This would be great. I'm just saying next time for an improved collection, you could do even more by filling up with a little bit more rice. But that looks like an excellent collection. So yeah, thumbs up to you, Jonathan. Excellent, man. Way to go on that. So let's see. And then let's see here. And I got one question from George. Want to answer this one here. So I've been really stoked with what George is doing. It's amazing. He sends me all these pictures, and I'm stoked to see these happening, and all that going on. So okay, so he's making some disgustingly cheap microbes. People call it JMS. 1,000 liters for my friend's plowed and leveled field before sowing, and 500 liters for my garden. Our daytime temperature is currently 6 to 14. Now it's a little cooler. I have a 140-watt heating wire inside and insulated a little foam on the outside, and so seem to be keeping 5 to 7 degrees more than outside. Not sure yet with the temperature. I read 18 degrees are necessary for activity to happen. However, we wanted to check how early and how much time it would take in this climate. So, yeah, with a lower temperature, it's just going to take a little bit longer. And so the question here he asks, which is the good parts, can it go bad while it's fermenting in these kinds of temperatures? And your nose knows. So when you mix these things together and you first mix them, it should just smell starchy or like nothing. Then as these microbes are starting to go, as they start to grow, they're going to start to release off gassing of what they're doing. And it should smell kind of like a sourdough, or like a sweet kind of smell to it, or like a uplifting smell. Your nose knows though that when it starts to smell like death or vomit or poop or rotten eggs, those smells are indicating that anaerobic or really nasty stuff is starting to grow. So then it's useful as a fertilizer, versus when it smells sweet, it's useful as soil microbes to go out to your soil. So your nose knows, and you have to go and smell the stuff, just like, just like lean over the thing and smell it. If it smells good, it's still good. And so I don't have that much experience with cool temperatures because I live in Hawaii, and it's almost always, warm enough here to make it happen anytime. In fact, it goes so quickly here. But I would say about 3 days at those temperatures, you're going to be right in your sweet spot. And again, it's all about those, your good microbes are growing, and then then the other microbes take off, and then it's these waves of microbes growing. So you want to get it in the very beginning, and it's better to use it earlier than later. However, it's a lot of effort to spray get 1,000 liters out there. Okay, and and another great question here is which Korean natural farming ingredients are safe to add to these the Jadam microbes, the really cheap microbes, and all of them, all of them. In fact, you can add them in. You can make a blend. It'll be even better. It'll give them the foods they need. Gives them everything they need to be come to life. So I would just make it. You can basically substitute it in any of those things. They work really well. And I just, since he included a picture, I wanted to share this picture with you. Here's his little insulated tank here, where he got this insulation around and then heating it up out here. So, and I think it's going to work really well for you. And then, and he started an IMO using rice. Again, it looks like on this you needed a little bit more. I would hit that 2/3 level, just coming up a little bit more. of the 2/3 in here. And although, like, you just saw in the previous one, and I like the way you built this box. That's really cool. It's a lot of good airspace. That's a really awesome thing. A plus on that for this box. A little bit more rice in there, but you're asking, can I use a different type of grain, like rye or wheat? Um, I think, yeah, I think so. Oats, those types of things. Any type of you want to try and hull it, just like this is white rice where the hulls come off. So if you're going to use a type of grain, at least make sure it's cracked or hulled, so that the microbes can get through that outer shell. But yeah, use anything that you can source locally. Here in Hawaii, we end up using sweet potatoes, ulu, taro, all these other starchy type of materials, potatoes, anything. The key is to parboil it so it's soft enough for the microbes to penetrate, but it's not too soft that it's going to get mushy. And that's yeah, but substitute, grow it out. You'll see the microbes come in. They should be good. It looks like put up paper on the bottom. And then here you're finding this mycelium breaking it down. So these guys are up in this surface breaking down these things. And these guys are not the soil microbes you're looking for, but right beneath them are. So these guys break down this material and they tie into the soil microbes right below. And so wherever you find this kind of stuff, you can dig right into that soil right there. And that's where you want to set your box, right into the soil layer. This stuff is not what you want, but it's right below there. So when you see this as an indicator, that's a good spot to set a box. And it looks like he did dig down, and look how nice and rich that soil is. So perfect, dug down into this. And you see what I'm talking about? Like up here, you got this nice good stuff with the mycelia. This is perfect, George. This is a great spot to do this. And he dug down, got into this rich, dark soil. You see how this soil's kind of balled up and living? As you dig into that, you set your box in there. Oh, yes, perfect. And he set the box down and he got perfect contact with the soil. This is the collection that you want. This is exactly how to do it. This is what should be doing. So set that there. It looks like you put the paper directly over the rice. I would put this paper instead of right here. I would put it on top of your metal sheet. If you, instead of putting, because if you put that paper and the rice directly against it, then that it kind of suffocates and they can't get that gas exchange. The whole point of that 2/3 airspace up here is that this place in here is going to fill with a bunch of gas and they're going to communicate. So if you can put that cover on the top here, it'll hold those gases in and let them communicate. So that's what I suggest there for improvement. And it looks like you again did put the paper on top, but it looks to me like there's paper on top of that one. I would remove this paper here, then put the paper, then put this dirt. Perfect. You're doing it. That's awesome, man. And then the last thing to do is to take all these leaves and scoot them around and make this so you kind of cocoon it in this layer. So it's like a sleeping bag of leaves put on top of it. It's like a blanket that you put on there, especially at those temperatures, and it'll be even better there. So transition back here. So I made some KNF food using your recipe with a dandelion, 50% brown sugar, 50% of the material mass. The liquid seems to be much less than when I use a 1-to-1 ratio. Smelling like dough all the time for some reason. I only got this much plant juice from a kilo of dandelions. So that seems about right to me. Okay, so he's saying, does it slow down the plant juice in some way if I use a 1-to-1 ratio? It does slow down the microbes, and it's not necessary for the plants. That actually, to me, here when I'm looking at it, I mean, from 1 kilo of plants, I'll show you guys here. So is it, yeah, so um, Yeah, so this here he got a kilo, which seems about right. I mean, here's the dandelions, the sugar in the bottom here, and then right when you start to get this little bit of mold, that's when it should be poured off, because when you see the microbes growing here, you know it's growing. And he's saying it's less than half a liter. Um, yeah, so yeah. Well, it looks fine to me. And then this picture here had water added to it. If you do add water, it will not store at at you got to use it, or it's going to turn to vinegar. I mean, that's the recipe to make vinegar, is to add twice as much water than the volume you have. So if I had a liter, I'd add 2 liters of water to that, and that would turn to a vinegar. So do not store it if you've added water to it. The whole point is to add more sugar to store it. Um, Oh, okay. So you're adding water to this. I wouldn't add water to this at all. It's just the plant juice that comes out, and if you're able to render more juice with more sugar, then adjust your sugar up to that level. But there shouldn't be any water added to this. If you're adding water to this thing, the whole point of a plant juice is you're taking the juice that's inside the plant and osmotically pulling it out with sugar, and it may not be that much juice, but this stuff is so potent that's in there. That's what makes it so strong. So um, yeah. So okay. So yeah. So anyway, I'm not exactly sure what's happened here, but I wouldn't add don't add any water to the plant juice. That starts to make a vinegar to it. Um, Looks like my papaya feeder just died. Okay, so and then I wanted to answer this question here for post up before I take off today, because he says he's starting the IMO 3 tomorrow. Does it need airflow, or it can be covered with a tarp between turnings? And the answer is that you want to put a bunch of, like, what I use is cut grass, and I put the cut grass or banana leaves or some kind of long carbonaceous grass, straw, something like that, on top of your IMOs itself. And then you could put a tarp on top of that, but you don't want the tarp directly on top of your IMO. It will cut it off um, from air, and that won't be good. But if you put a decent amount of straw on top of it to insulate it, to cover it, that's good. And then you can put a tarp over, but you know it, you don't want to suffocate it. If you're outside or something, it's best to put the tarp so that it's just like, put some, like, pin it so it's above, so it's not on top of your pile and cutting off the oxygen. So hopefully that helps you out with that. And good luck on the IMO3. It's a great process. Good fun to get in there and get the foot spas and all that. So cool. Well, anyway, let's see here. Well, may as well get these last little questions here. Um, do you know of any IMO3 resources that can show you how to make it with rice bran and rice hulls? I get a lot of heat and some little white fuzzies, but nothing that is chunking up. And that's absolutely true. It's fine. You don't need it to chunk up. You don't need it to, like, grow these thick things of mycelia. In fact, those are actually most likely actinobacteria and really a bad sign. So the white fuzzies, all that, people have this idea of, they get the IMO and they want it to, like, bloom out and, like, look like it's all this microbes. It's not necessary. In fact, that stuff, it's not necessarily the best sign to see that happening while it's growing. Um, and and spent mushroom spawn is not really the greatest source of IMOs. Those are going to get, you want indigenous microorganisms, not spent mushroom spawn. And if you're going to use that as a medium, you're going to need to replenish those things that the microbes ate out. And sweet Clark, I'm glad you're making the KNF protectors, the lactobacillus. Those are, the best things. Put it in your laundry, put it down your toilet, put it in your yard, put it all over your body, give it to your animals. Your world's gonna be changed. This stuff is amazing, and I wish they taught this stuff in schools too, folks, because what more do you need to live in life? So, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in here. Just want to wrap up a little bit, and of course, give a shout out to the Pure KNF Foundation. Without them, I wouldn't be doing this, couldn't be doing this. And, our office hours are posted live right here, so you can see them happening. Our newsletter is going out, can learn more. We're about to put out some more learning series. And if you want to find this recording and all the recordings, they're at office hours here, which is at knfsupport.com. So knfsupport.com has all the office hours, and click here, see all the office hours, and then we're working on getting these. Every time it happens, we make a table of contents. And so our later episodes, if you go back a few episodes, well, I guess I need to get here and update it, but these should all have table of contents to them, and they will after I get to this today. It's my Sunday thing I do, my jam, spend my time helping out natural farming community. So I hope it helps you, and if you find it useful, I guess people say like, subscribe, share, all those things, right? Those are the things, I would think it would be obvious at this point, but if not, just do natural farming, share it with people. And, but I want to thank you for tuning in. I will catch you guys next Sunday. Looks like it will be the 31st. And is there 31 in April? I don't know. But, yeah, thank you, and long live the natural farmer, and yeah, aloha.